The music was still playing when the ceiling came down. It was a Friday night, July 17th, 1981. More than 1,600 people had gathered in the grand atrium of the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Kansas City, Missouri. Couples danced beneath glittering lights. A jazz band played from the far end of the lobby. Above the crowd, walkways suspended from the ceiling allowed guests to look down over the festivities from the second and fourth floors. It was just past 7 p.m. Then, without warning, two of those walkways gave way. A groan echoed through the atrium, then a deafening crash. Two concrete and steel skywalks, packed with people, dropped straight down. The fourth-floor walkway landed on the second-floor one. Then both fell together into the crowd below. They struck the lobby with the force of a bomb. Dancers were crushed instantly. The band's music was silenced in an instant. Concrete slabs and twisted metal fell like guillotines onto the people gathered below. Screams were swallowed in seconds. Dust filled the air. Dozens were pinned beneath the debris, their bodies broken, trapped in darkness. The entire collapse had taken less than 4 seconds. Rescue workers rushed in. What they found was chaos. Bodies lay in piles of concrete and glass. Blood pooled across the polished floor. Survivors were pinned by twisted steel rods, some with only their hands or faces visible. The weight of the skywalks was so immense that many victims suffocated before help could reach them. Others bled to death as rescuers worked desperately to cut through debris. Firefighters used jackhammers, saws, anything they could find. Volunteers joined in. At one point, medical staff performed amputations on site to free the trapped. The scene was lit by spotlights and flashlights, smoke rising from generators as emergency crews worked through the night. By morning, 114 people were dead. More than 200 were injured. It remains one of the deadliest structural collapses in American history. But what stunned the country wasn't just the loss. It was how easily it could have been prevented. The walkways that fell were suspended by steel rods, bolted into place and anchored above the ceiling. But the design had been changed, quietly, during construction. Originally, both walkways were supposed to hang from a single set of rods. But fabricators suggested a simpler method: attach one walkway to another. Instead of being suspended independently, the fourth-floor skywalk now hung from the second-floor walkway, and the second-floor walkway bore the weight of both. That change doubled the load on the bolts. The connection point, where the rods met the beams inside the walkway, couldn't take the strain. The steel cracked slowly over time until it gave out all at once. Investigators uncovered the details quickly. Engineers had approved the change without running proper calculations. The builders followed the new design without questioning it. No one had fully understood the consequences. In court, one of the engineers admitted that he'd approved the change during a phone call, without seeing the revised drawings. The load-bearing calculations had never been redone. No one checked. No one thought it would matter. The Hyatt disaster sent shockwaves through the engineering world. Professional practices were scrutinized. Licenses were revoked. The two engineers responsible lost their credentials permanently. The hotel itself reopened within months. But the scars remained. For the families who lost mothers, fathers, children, the collapse was not an accident. It was a failure of oversight, communication, and accountability, a preventable tragedy hidden behind blueprints and paperwork. There were no bombs, no storms, no warning. Just a dance floor, a flawed design, and a ceiling that fell. Thank you for listening to Road to Ruins. Subscribe for more true stories where systems fail and people pay the price.